just turned 7 o'clock and we have all 5 of you either on Zoom or in person, so we can go ahead and start if you're ready.
Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order on January 11th, 2022. It's being held in the Loomis Depot building and also on Zoom. And the members of the public can make comment on agenda items through the Zoom platform using the raise their hand features. So I would like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we take roll call, please.
Okay, Councilmember Brian Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Jan Clark-Kretz.
Here.
Councilmember Jeff Duncan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Danny Cartwright.
Here.
And Mayor Nicely.
Here. Okay, this is the time now that we'll adopt the agenda.
Move to adopt.
And I need
I'll
a
second that. Baker will second.
And then a roll call.
Okay, Councilmember Jeff Duncan.
Aye.
Councilmember Brian Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Jan Clark-Kretz.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Danny Cartwright.
Aye.
Mayor Jenny Nicely.
Aye. Okay, then we just previously had a closed session, and I'd like to report that direction was given to staff in that closed session. And then now we're going to move on to a proclamation. And I'm going to just read that. It's a proclamation of the Town Council and the Town of Loomis proclaiming February 2022 Japanese American History Month. Whereas the Town of Loomis historically has been home to a significant population of Japanese Americans. And whereas Japanese Americans have helped shape the culture and the landscape of the town of Loomis. And whereas February 19, 1942 marks the anniversary of the signing of the Executive Order 9066 by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, which forced the removal of the Japanese Americans from their homes and into incarceration in internment camps. And whereas it's important to honor, recognize, and remember the impact of the Japanese Americans and their internment on the culture and landscape of the town of Loomis. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that the Town Council and the Town of Loomis hereby proclaims February 2022 Japanese American History Month and encourages the citizens of Loomis to learn more about the impact of the Japanese Americans on our community.
Librarian, community engagement librarian, does her report. Will also she'll give a little bit of update on what's happening with that project.
Great, thank you. Okay, so now we move on to matters of interest to council members. Does any one of the council members have any matters of interest? I cannot see Jan or council member Jan Clark-Kretz or
No, actually, I can say I would like to discuss the fact that how important it is that we are honoring our Japanese Americans, and I am incredibly honored that, you know, we have made this proclamation, and indeed hope that February will be the month that we remember our Japanese Americans every year. It's not just meant to be February 2022. So I'm not sure if we need to update our ordinance a little bit there, but it should be something, I think, as an annual, it should be on an annual basis. It's hugely important for the history of our town for people to understand what the town looked like years and years ago and what people that lived here went through. And just, again, thank you for the proclamation, Mayor, but would like to maybe make a little bit of a change in that. Thanks.
all right. Does any of the other members have any matters of interest? I would just like to shout out to K.benedict out there filming us. It's his birthday, and I thank him for all his time that he does for us. And I'd also like to just say that I plan on bringing back Mayor Mondays on the second Tuesday of the month. So the next one will be actually February 14th on Valentine's Day. So I'm going to need help here to find out how we change the resolution to just make the whole, every month of February, the Japanese American History Month. Can we just do that?
As long as council doesn't have the rest of council doesn't have any heartburn about changing that, it's a text change that we can make in the proclamation.
I think whoever wrote it probably intended on doing that. It just wasn't worded right. And if Sarah, I know she's going to be talking later, but I do think that was the intent.
Yeah.
All right, do we need to vote on that?
Nope. As long as I don't hear any objection to that, we'll make that change.
Great, I don't hear any objections. So we'll move on now to the town manager report. Sean.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I got a couple things needed to talk about. The first is COVID-19 update. So as you know, COVID's been spreading again throughout the community at a rapid pace because of the Omicron variant. Town has had several employees affected as well. So to better protect staff and to provide for the effective continuity of government, Town Hall will be moving to a minimum staffing level for at least the remainder of the month. That takes effect tomorrow and will run throughout at least the remainder of January. So Town Hall will be closed on Fridays. We're going to go back a little bit to how we were operating before, I think, October. So Town Hall will be closed on Fridays. We are going to have somebody working at the counter during normal business hours on Monday through Thursday. Excuse me. But we'll be closed for lunch between noon and 1:30 p.m. because of the staffing issue. Consistent with the state's recent mandate, we continue to require masks be worn in Town Hall for all employees while we're there. Next one I wanted to note is that the mask mandate was extended by the California Department of Public Health, so all Californians continue to be required to wear masks when they're indoors at public places through February 15th. As we've seen with the COVID spread, the masks are important to make sure that we're kind of slowing that spread down. I know that the hospitals have been pretty impacted because of this latest surge, and while it seems that the cases are generally mild, we need to make sure that we can keep the hospitals not severely impacted. So, Japanese internment remembrance activities postponed. Our community librarian, community engagement librarian, Sarah Comstock, will give an update on that. So I'll leave that for her. And then last, the inclusionary housing ordinance that was approved by the Planning Commission, that was approved on December 15th at a special meeting. That'll be coming forward to council next month in February. So you'll be having the first reading of that ordinance in February, assuming that tweaks are not, or we can actually make some changes to it as well when it comes to the council meeting. So we'll be presenting that to you in February. The last one I wanted to note was on the Hidden Grove project. The town received the formal application for the Hidden Grove project just before the Christmas holiday. And folks know that application is for a housing project under SB 330 that's going to be located behind the former, behind Rayleigh's on the former Village at Loomis site where the proposed development is. We've posted that formal application to the town website. We have 30 days, actually we have 30 days, but they extended it to 44 days because of the holidays. So we have 44 days to review that formal application and to deem it complete. At this point, we think that there's enough of an issue that we'll probably end up deeming it not complete, and we'll go through the process of modifying it, having them modify it and bring it back to deem it complete again. Once we do deem it complete, there's a 60-day period to determine if the project is consistent with the objective standards of the general plan that's required by SB 330. And then, assuming that it is consistent with the general plan, we'll begin the work on the EIR and the project processing itself. There's no specific time frame for that to happen. The EIR takes as long as the EIR takes. And so I'm thinking that, hearings, it's not like we're going to be going into hearings in like 60 days. That's probably a year-ish, maybe towards the end of this year, depending on how quickly the EIR goes. There was something that I saw saying that we'll be, this project's going to be approved in 60 days, and that's just simply not the case. We won't be anywhere near hearings within 60 days. The only other thing I would note is that the town's only allowed 5 public hearings under SB 330. And the town attorney's prepared a memo that we're hoping that provides a comprehensive review of what SB 330 is, and so you can take a look at that. It's on the website as well. Lastly, Town Manager Tuesdays, that will continue to be on hiatus this month because of the Omicron spread and employee impact. So this month we won't hold that. Hopefully we'll be back. I'll be back doing that in February. Any questions?
I just had one. Do they get in the process when they bring it back? Say you do say that or the town says it isn't complete. Do they get 30 days when they bring it back again, and then another 60 days? Or is it just that they've already gotten their 30 days plus the extended 14, the 44 days for completeness?
Other than playing SB 330 expert, I'll let the attorney answer that one.
Well, I'll be playing a little bit too, because I'm not sure that I remember exactly, but I don't believe there is a specific time period for them to respond. The specific statutory time periods at this point are largely on the town. So we will complete the completeness review, and they will then turn that around in a period of time. I don't believe it's specified by statute.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Okay.
Okay. We're going to move on to the Loomis Chamber of Commerce update. You're mute. Okay.
Hey, Madam Mayor, welcome everybody. Good to see you all tonight. I guess we ended December on a positive. We ended with 209 members, so I think that's a good win for us. Of course, we're going into the new year. Our board meeting is actually on Thursday, so we're going to have a big, robust discussion about our goals and objectives for the coming year. One thing that I do need to know is let's do the state of the town. So we're going to stay tuned for that coming up. But yeah, all in, pretty quiet during the holidays. Our last big event was the Christmas basket mixer, which raised over $15,000. Excellent to the community turnout. So thank you all who came. But it was pretty quiet during then, just doing some end of the year office work. So nothing much to report, but stay tuned. After this month, there'll be plenty of items on the calendar. So any questions?
No, thank you, Frank.
Stay safe out there.
All right. Now we will go to public comment on items that are not on the consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, I think
Yes.
we skipped over the library report.
Oh, I did. Sorry, Sarah. All right. I was doing so good, but I didn't cross off. All right, Sarah, can you please give us a report on the Loomis Library and Community Learning Center?
Yes, thank you. So the big news that we have is that, as Sean mentioned, unfortunately, we will have to postpone our Month of Remembrance events that we're planning around Japanese history and internment for the month of February. We plan on postponing them until May, where we can sort of pick them up and just, have that celebration and that honor to honor those people later in the year. The other thing is we will be continuing to do our Throwback Thursdays with the help of the Loomis Basin Historical Society on Facebook through the month of February. So that is one way that we are going to mark our month of remembrance, despite having to postpone those events. We are also going to have to postpone and or cancel our other library events that we had planned in January just because of the Omicron variant. We're just not up to having large gatherings at this time. So that includes the FOL book sale is canceled, as well as our first origami club, but we will be resuming origami club as soon as it's safe to do so, hopefully in February. And then we will continue having story time outside on Fridays. That is something that we can continue to do even during this surge. And I just wanted to remind everybody that we do have curbside service available at the library. So if anybody is uncomfortable coming into the library, wants to limit their contact with other people, we do offer curbside.
Great. Does anybody have any questions for Sarah? Thank you, Sarah. So now we'll move. Yes, now we'll move on to public comment for items not on the agenda. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address the council on items not on the agenda?
Yeah, we have one hand raised, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Pam Blake, you're ready to go. You just need to unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Pam Blake. I spoke out against the proposed garbage rate increase, last month, even though I didn't know what it was going to be. I also spoke out against the last proposed rate on June 9th, 2020, and that was continued until the July 14th meeting. And at that meeting, I stated that we were in the beginning of a pandemic, and this not only affects the residents, but it also affects our businesses. And the council unanimously, approved it. I did tell my next door neighbor to get rid of her second toter. She barely uses it. So her quarterly bill just went down from $120 to $85. Now, I read in the mid-year budget review from Roger that he states that two issues faced us when we created the 21-22 operating budget. First, we were in the middle of an unprecedented pandemic and had little info. Now, I have read the proposed letter increase. The proposed rate is between 8 and 13%, which will be retroactive back to January 1st. I just got my bill just this, past Saturday. So I want you to think long and hard before next meeting to vote no. Our inflation is high. The gas prices are high every time we fill up our vehicles. So we do not need, another increase. I'd like you to think really hard and long on this before next month meeting. And this one's a tough one because on a very personal note, the people out there that say, my body, my choice, well, your choices cost me a dear family member yesterday who had no underlying health conditions, and she did everything right. And I still see people in stores not wearing their masks. They could care less. So what is it going to take? Is it going to take the death of a family member to change your ways? This happened, yesterday, and she was a very dear, family member, and we're just all brokenhearted about it. So I want to tell people out there, do the right thing. Come on, wear your mask. Don't let it happen to you or your family. Thank you.
All right, Pam, thanks. I believe there was another comment that wanted to be made by Miguel.
Sorry, hang on a sec. Miguel, you ready to go? You just need to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, what I would like the council to do at the next council meeting is have Pioneer Electric come and present why their rates are now higher than PG&E. They sent out a notice to all the subscribers that their rate is now higher than PG&E. And I'm a little bit concerned because when Pioneer was formed and I was on that group, the main emphasis was that their rate would be lower than PG&E. So something happened to their business plan. I would like them to come and explain to the council and the community why their rate is now higher. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Miguel. Are there any more? Sean?
Sorry. Not on Zoom. Okay. Jesse, would you like all right. That's it, Madam Mayor.
All right. So now we'll move to the opportunity to comment on the consent calendar. Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment on the consent calendar?
Mayor, we actually need to take number 10 off for discussion, please.
We do that? Okay. So we're going to remove number 10 off the consent agenda. Is there anybody in the public who wants to talk the other remaining items?
Item 11?
And then we have a request to pull number 11 off as well.
11.
Not
I don't have an
I'm
11.
sorry, number 11 is just regular business, Jesse.
Oh, I'm sorry. When I printed off the sheet at home, 11 was the storm.
Yeah, that's on the agenda, but it's a business item.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw one for 11. My fault.
No problem. So at this point, it looks like just number 10.
All right. So then I need a motion from the council.
I'll make a motion that we accept consent items 1 through 9.
All right. Now I need a second.
Second.
I'll second that.
Look like Ryan seconded that to me from my Zoom.
Okay.
All right. So roll call, please, Carroll.
Okay. Councilmember Jan Clark-Kretz.
Yes.
Councilmember Brian Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan.
Aye.
Councilmember Cartwright.
Aye.
Mayor Nicely.
Aye. All right. So now we will go to the pulled item number 10. And Sean, do you want to take that?
Sure. Yeah, so item number 10 was an extension of the period of negotiation to come to terms for 3800 Taylor Road. And so we were not able to come to terms with the proposed buyer for that piece of property. And so at this point, staff's recommendation to council is not to extend the negotiation and to rather vote no on item number 10.
All right. Are there any comments or can I get a motion for number 10?
Any members of the public, any questions?
Yes. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on items number 10 from the consent agenda?
It doesn't look like it.
All right. So I do need a motion.
I'll make a motion we accept item 10 of the consent agenda.
So your motion should be to deny.
Say no, yes.
I'll second that. Baker will second.
All right. And can we get a roll call, please, Carol?
Yes. Councilmember Clark-Kretz.
Aye.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Duncan.
Aye.
Councilmember Cartwright.
Aye.
Mayor Nicely.
Aye. Thank you, Carol. And now we will move to business. The creation of a stormwater fund and budget equaling the town's American Rescue Plan and allocation. Sean, can you give us some information on that?
Yeah, I'm actually going to defer to our town engineer, Merrill Buck, and he'll lead the item.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Madam Mayor. So this item's coming back to you from the November meeting. We had, fortunately, good news. The town of Loomis had received, as part of the COVID relief bill, the American Rescue Plan Act, about $1.6 million. The money, unfortunately, was fairly limited in terms of what we could spend it on. One of the things that we were looking at was water and sewer and broadband infrastructure. And sewer, we've since looked into, does include storm drain work. And so that was the hope, is that we have a fairly large unmet need in terms of storm drain repairs in town. And so this report is recommending that we create a storm drain fund, that we allocate the full $1.6 million into that fund, and that we work towards the completion of various storm drain improvements, which I've included as an exhibit in the staff report. So the first step would be, in fact, I started working on it this week, putting out a contract to do video inspection of the various storm drain lines. And from that, we can have a better assessment in terms of what the worst ones are and which ones to prioritize. And then we'll come back to council with a bid package once that's done.
All right. Do we have any questions from the council? Okay, I don't see any, so we'll go to public comment. Is there any public comment?
So it looks like Councilmember Duncan.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's hard to see. Sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
On mute.
You're muted, Jeff.
I had on mute. Hey, Merrill, is there any other funding that's coming our way from the federal government or state government, that you know of for any type of broadband services? No, you're on mute.
No, you're on mute, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any additional funding sources. There's occasionally federal money that shows up with infrastructure, but even that is fairly limited. There's another round of CMAQ transportation money that's about $150,000 is our share that we see in about 2 years' time. But COVID related, unless you know of any, Roger, I don't know of any additional coming.
As far as broadband, sorry, touch of the COVID. There is some money that's dedicated to broadband, but it's so specifically identified to towns that we just don't fit in the description. We can keep looking, but I don't see any much hope for that right now.
All right, thanks.
I do believe that the Placer County was getting some funding for that. So
Placer County is doing a broadband kind of an expansion to bring broadband to unincorporated areas of the county. I'll talk with the CAO or the CEO or somebody else at the county and see if there's a way that, or just kind of flesh it out and see if there was something that we could piggyback on for folks in Loomis. I know that we have that need. Unfortunately, I don't, with our ARPA money, I don't know how far that would go for broadband related stuff. So, but I'll look into it and see what we can do.
All right, thanks, Sean.
Sure.
So do we have any public comment on the business item number 11?
We have one member of the public here. Sir, you'll have to speak to the podium so they can hear you, though.
Jesse Lunsford, 6133 Smokewood Court here in Loomis. I'm just wondering why we're rushing to spend all of the $1.6 million from the American Rescue Act when, one, the money doesn't have to be obligated for 3 more years and it doesn't have to be spent for 2 more years. Number two, in November, Congress passed $1.2 trillion bill called the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Can we wait and see if it will fund our storm and water runoff projects? The American Rescue Funds were created because COVID was devastating, currently accounting for over 800,000 American deaths. And 3/4 of the deaths were folks over 50 years of age, 600,000 people. Mr. Carroll mentioned in November these funds are for disadvantaged and underserved in the community. One of the American Rescue Plan addresses is affordable housing. That's section 35.6 B12II. Loomis has a population where 20% are already above the age of 65 with no affordable senior housing. I think the seniors qualify under disadvantaged and underserved. This is a once-in-a-lifetime golden ticket for affordable housing, and we're probably never going to see again, and I don't think it should be for the general fund. A few reasons why the fund should go to the senior affordable housing versus just affordable housing. Senior affordable housing is cheaper to build and easier at 400 to 600 square feet per house on very small lots that allow 30 or more housing units per acre on a single level, small cottage clusters. Placer County website puts a price tag at $60,000 per home, and of course this doesn't include the land. We get more bang for our buck on the state mandated RHNA numbers. 2, traffic. During the commute and school drop-off hours, seniors have no impact on traffic and roads. We put fewer miles on the roadways, wear and tear. Mr. Rebay mentioned a small change with Del Oro's future start time will complicate our traffic problems. 3, we make good neighbors. We hear a lot of "not in my backyard" and the fear that comes with general affordable housing, but few complaints from senior affordable housing. 4, seniors put less strain on the police services because we're fewer criminals. One of the items coming up to the town council, Mr. Rebay mentioned, was inclusionary housing. Where in the future, builders will be required to build 1 in 10 houses affordable. This plan allows town council to decide if the builder must build on site or another nearby location. My big buildup. Heritage Park is perfect for this. With almost 7 buildable acres and 5 acres of pond and open space, the land is already paid for, and with some seed money from the American Rescue Plan, it can be done just like developers do. Phase 1 is just 10 cottages. Then, as developers in Loomis require land over the next 20 years for their share of senior affordable housing, Heritage Park can expand at developer expense with inflation built in.
So, Jesse, we're
I'm
up
sorry.
at time. All right. Sean, thank you, Jesse, for your comments. Sean, is there anybody else in the public?
Yeah, we have one on Zoom. Pam, you're ready to go, just need to unmute.
I liked what Jesse had to say, so can I give him my 3 minutes so he can continue talking? I see Carol shaking her head. Okay, well, I also saw something about the Heritage Park that was, changing to be like some type of a tree farm. And what Jesse said, the town owns it, that would be a good start for low affordable, housing, for our seniors, because they don't need the big places and stuff that we do, and they could have the 600 feet or 800 feet. I mean, my home is 1,200 square feet, and so I just want to second what Jesse was saying, about that area. Thank you.
All right, Sean, is there anybody else with public comment? So,
That's it.
bring that back to the council for discussion.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Mhm.
I think Jesse brings up a good point, for me anyway, a number of them actually. Appreciate your public comment. Talking about what Congress is about to approve with all the infrastructure money that we may be having, I mean, it seems like it might be a good idea to just wait and see, and just in case we might be getting funding for infrastructure anyway. So I kind of think that he's right. We might be spending money on something that we're going to be getting funded in the future for, whereas we may not have this initial funding available anytime soon. Did we I know we talked about doing some sort of public feedback on this. Did we do anything like that, or I don't know, wouldn't we?
We had it on the agenda to discuss, so, we did, but I don't know any other way that we would have done that.
Right.
But it was on the agenda in November.
Yeah, okay.
For council discussion.
Because I think we were talking and somebody said that we had talked about maybe finding out maybe what the community might need that money for in terms of COVID and the disadvantage in our area. So I agree. I think we should wait.
All right, I see Brian's hand up. You're muted, Brian.
All right, Merrill, what exactly is this money allocated for to us? The American Rescue.
Well, so there were 4 categories that the money potentially could be targeting, right? There was responding to the public health emergency and its economic impacts, providing premium pay to essential workers, replacing revenue lost to the town due to the pandemic, and making investment in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. So, affordable housing is a policy issue, but I don't know if that fits into those categories. So
It doesn't seem to me that does. If you look at it, it's very specific in its scope. I mean, we could put it in a fund and say, let's, do some research and allocate, but I mean, it's specific in its scope. We can't build houses. We can't build things like that. There is probably going to be some infrastructure money coming. I've been talking with some people on the federal level. What that's going to look like, what strings are going to be attached, we don't quite know yet. But putting this in this fund is an appropriate use of the money. And so I have no problem moving forward, putting that into the fund. If we remember back a couple of years ago, some of us that have been on council for a while, some of the stormwater issues that are an imminent threat to both houses, to businesses and things in the older parts of town. If you remember, Dave Strzok came and was showing us photos of those sinkholes in backyards. I mean, there are some serious things that need to be taken care of. And let's be honest, if that system doesn't work, there's the next system that'll fail and the next system that'll fail. So it's time to just start chipping away at these major things. And I very much feel that this is an appropriate use of those funds.
and I might add too that the item is just creating a fund. It doesn't have expenditure authority with it. The intent would be to come back to council once we have a project in mind and ask for the expenditure authority at that time. So it's merely creating a fund and then putting the money as a budget in that fund. So
something could be taken out of that fund if it didn't. You come back and it doesn't isn't cost effective, or there's something that the big
exactly.
flag.
Yeah, the only caution, I guess, is that there's a fuse on this money. We have 4 years in which to get it spent, and so putting it towards infrastructure that would otherwise have to come out of the general fund it preserves the general fund and it gets the money spent.
Just note too that with this recent storms, we're seeing, additional sinkholes and problems on Rachel Lane, and we've got, 1.6 million is probably not going to fix our storm drain problem. Honestly, if there's additional money coming from the infrastructure bill, we'd be able to put, additional money towards the rest of that storm drain problem that we have. The 1.6 isn't going to fix it all.
I can't see Danny. I don't know if he has anything that he would like to add, or if Councilmember Duncan has anything you'd like to add. No?
No.
Oh, good. Councilmember Duncan?
When we had our discussion in December, I only remember the 4 topics that were discussed, and I don't recall anything about any type of housing. and I do know that we do need the sewer and all these infrastructure fixes, and I don't see that we would have any problem spending $1.6 million really quick, the way everything is so expensive to do as in regards to infrastructure. I'm all for spending money for affordable housing, but I doubt this would be an amount enough to really address what we need as far as a senior affordable housing. So as far as waiting a month and I don't to find out, to do more research if Roger has anything that he's aware of, like I mentioned about broadband, but if there was something other to do, I don't know if it would be beneficial at this time, but I don't see the urgency within a month, but at the same time, to Sean's point of what we've been having happen with the storms that we've been having, it is having an impact. In our neighborhood right here, there's a sinkhole. I believe it's on Arcadia. There's a sinkhole right there, a pretty new one, not to mention the ones that are out of sight. So I lean towards getting the infrastructure fixed at this time. I'd like to hear what Danny has to say, or maybe if Roger has any other information.
So I spent more than a day reading that federal document on what that money can be spent for. And it's very specific. It acts like it's very broad, but in reality, it's very specific to those 4 items. If you could make an argument that senior housing fit one of those 4 items, you could do it, but I don't see the argument. We talk about underserved community. Sure, seniors are underserved, but they're not talking about housing as one of the options. I mean, if you could show that there was a health reason to build those homes, you could probably get away with it. But I can't see. I'm spinning in circles here, but I think the document that I read was so specific to those 4 items, but infrastructure, including stormwaters, was so specifically broken out that I don't think we should. I really think it should be used for that. The money, again, it doesn't have to be. It's not being earmarked tonight. There's no project being brought forth. It's simply being formalized into a fund. On the other hand, 4 years doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it goes pretty quick. So we need to stay on top of it, but it's not in cement yet.
Councilmember Cartwright, do you have any comments?
I'd just like to repeat my comments that I made in the December meeting, in that I approve of the $1.6 million being spent on the sewer and drain system, and if there's any left over, which according to Sean there won't be, but if there were, I was open to new ideas as to what the remainder could be spent on, but I was fine with the 1.6 on the sewer and drain.
Thank you. I would like to just say that I have watched many Zoom meetings and conversations with the city of League of Cities, and I didn't hear of any housing. And I appreciate Jesse's comments, but I don't believe that I could see where that could be used for that type of funding. So I do know that I've heard over and over about our drains, and even back past public works directors have mentioned and brought presentations to that. So I would not have a problem putting it in that fund like we're asking tonight, and then doing a little more research for future. So if we don't have any other comments, I guess we need to do a roll call, or no, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion. Baker will make a motion to approve staff recommendation on item number 11.
And now
who was that second?
Cartwright.
Cartwright, thank you.
And then we'll do a roll call, please.
Okay, Councilmember Baker,
Aye.
Councilmember Cartwright,
Aye.
Councilmember Clark-Fritz.
Before I make my vote, I just want to say I appreciate the information, and I know that our storm drains are really, really bad, and I 100% agree with that. I'm voting yes because you've told me that we are going to be putting this into a fund that we can potentially change a project on. I do still feel like trying to understand what the big infrastructure bill is coming through is, and I know we have a serious problem, but I am voting yes. Thank you.
Councilmember Duncan,
Aye.
Mayor Nisley.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to council committee reports. Do we have any? I think it was a pretty quiet month. Yeah. All right. I don't see any.
I'll just say this. I'll talk to get someone from Pioneer to come as soon as possible to address Miguel's concerns. I know we talked about this, Miguel and I, and it was due to PG&E lowering their rates at one point and the PCIA charge. But in March, there's going to be some changes to the PCIA charge and the rates. So hopefully we can get somebody out next month from Pioneer. Thank you.
Great. So any other council committee reports? I don't see any. So I say we adjourn at 7:47, according to my computer.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.